She was too plain for prom. That's what Brittany Chen said 30 years ago, loud enough for the whole cafeteria to hear. Simone Johnson went anyway, alone, in her mother's altered dress, chin up even when the photos showed couples and she stood by the punch bowl. The boy who'd asked her got transferred 2 days before. She told herself it didn't matter. Now she's 39. Third-grade teacher. Small house in suburban Atlanta. Good life. Quiet life. Then he shows up at her door on a Saturday morning. Harrison Palmer, the scholarship kid who disappeared, except he's not a kid anymore. He's a billionaire. In a suit that costs more than her car. And he's holding an old prom photo. Of her. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you emotional stories that stay with you. If you're new here, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss a story. And if you're returning, thank you. Your support means everything. Now, stay until the end, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's begin. Simone's hand froze on the doorknob. Through the frosted glass panel, she could make out a shape. Tall, broad-shouldered, too well-dressed for this neighborhood where people mowed their own lawns and fixed their own fences. Probably selling something. Solar panels or Jesus or a new credit card. She almost didn't open it. Her Saturday mornings were sacred. Coffee in her favorite chipped mug, Jill Scott playing low on the kitchen speaker. Lesson plans spread across the table in organized chaos. Her third graders were learning fractions next week, and she'd stayed up until midnight cutting construction paper into pizza slices because that's what made math make sense for 8-year-olds. The knock came again. Softer this time. Hesitant. That's what made her open it. She turned the lock, pulled the door halfway, and her heart stopped. Harrison Palmer stood on her porch. Not the 17-year-old boy with second-hand clothes and too long hair who'd sat behind her in AP English. Not the kid who'd asked her to prom with a handmade poster in the library because he couldn't afford the flowers everyone else bought. This Harrison wore a charcoal suit tailored so perfectly it looked like it had been drawn onto him. His hair was shorter, threaded with silver at the temples. His face had hardened into angles, jaw sharper, cheekbones more defined. The softness of adolescence burned away by whatever the last 23 years had done to him. But his eyes. Same storm-gray eyes that used to look at her across the library table like she was the only person who understood what he was saying. Simone. Her name came out rough, like he'd been holding it in his mouth for miles. She couldn't breathe. The morning air pressed against her skin, cool, damp from last night's rain, smelling like wet grass and the neighbor's grill from yesterday. Her fingers tightened on the doorframe. "What are you doing here?" He flinched. Small movement, barely there, but she caught it. Her teacher instincts, honed from years of watching kids try to hide hurt. He stopped. Swallowed. Tried again. "Can I come in?" No. The word came out harder than she meant. But her pulse was hammering and her throat felt tight and she was suddenly 17 again. Standing alone at prom in her mother's cream dress with the too long hem, watching everyone else slow dance while she pretended the punch was interesting. Harrison's gaze dropped to his hands. He was holding something, a photo, she realized. Old edges worn soft. He turned it toward her. Prom. Her junior year. She was standing by the gym entrance, alone, trying to smile for the photographer who'd insisted everyone needed a picture. The dress her mother had stayed up 3 nights altering. The corsage she'd bought herself and pinned on crooked in the school bathroom. She'd burned every copy of that photo. "Where did you get that?" Her voice came out thin. "I kept it." He met her eyes. "I've kept it for 30 years. The world tilted. She gripped the doorframe harder, nails digging into paint her father had helped her apply when she'd bought this house 6 years ago. "You didn't even show up." "I know. Your parents transferred you. 2 days before. I wore that dress and went alone and everyone." She stopped. Clenched her jaw. She would not cry in front of Harrison Palmer. Not again. "I'm sorry." His voice cracked on the second word. "God, Simone, I'm so sorry. I tried to call. My parents took my phone. I wrote letters, they never sent them. I was 17 and stupid and I didn't fight hard enough." A car drove past. Someone's dog barked 3 houses down. Normal Saturday sounds in a normal neighborhood where billionaires didn't show up holding prom photos like evidence. "Why are you here?" she asked again. He slid the photo into his jacket pocket, careful, like it mattered. "I'm opening an education foundation. Headquarters in Atlanta. I've been back in the city for 2 months and He looked at her. Really looked, the way he used to in a library when she'd explained a book theme he'd missed. "I couldn't do it without finding you first. You're a billionaire." The word felt strange in her mouth. "I read about you. Palmer Tech. You sold it for—" She couldn't even remember the number. It had been obscene. 4.2 billion. He said it flat like it was boring. "I kept the AI division. We're working on educational software now. Personalized learning programs for underfunded schools." Of course he was. Harrison had always been like that. Scholarship kid who'd cared more about ideas than things, who'd tutored middle schoolers for free because he remembered what it felt like to be behind. But that didn't explain why he was on her porch. "Why me?" She hated how small her voice sounded. "Because you should have been at that prom with me." His jaw tightened. "Because I owe you an apology I should have given 23 years ago. And because—" He stopped. Something vulnerable flickered across his face. "Because I've thought about you every year on that date. Every single year. And I needed to know if you were okay." Her chest hurt. Physical ache right behind her ribs, like someone had reached in and squeezed. She should close the door. This was insane. People didn't show up after 3 decades with apologies and old photos and eyes that still looked at her like she mattered. "I'm fine," she said. "I have a good life. I teach 3rd grade. I have friends. She gestured vaguely at herself. Yoga pants, oversized Howard University sweatshirt, natural hair and a pineapple because she'd planned to deep condition it this afternoon. "I'm fine. You're beautiful." The words hit like cold water. She laughed. Couldn't help it. Sharp sound that came from somewhere bitter she usually kept locked down. "Don't. Simone. Don't do that. Don't show up here and—" Her voice cracked. She pressed her lips together, breathing hard through her nose. "I was too plain for prom. Remember? That's what Brittany said. Too plain for Harrison Palmer. And you know what? She was right, because you left and I went alone and I spent the next 20 years believing." She stopped. Shook her head. This was too much. Too raw. She didn't owe him her wounds. But Harrison's face had gone white. "Brittany Chen said that?" "In the cafeteria. 3 days after you asked me. Loud enough for everyone to hear." He closed his eyes. "I didn't know." "Of course you didn't. You were already gone." Silence stretched between them. A neighbor's sprinkler system kicked on, rhythmic shush of water hitting grass. Somewhere a screen door slammed. When Harrison opened his eyes, they were bright. Too bright. "I'm sorry. For all of it. For leaving. For not fighting harder. For not being there when someone made you feel like you were anything less than—" His voice roughened. "You were the smartest person in that school, Simone. The kindest. The only one who talked to me like I was worth something. And I was so grateful you said yes to prom I couldn't sleep for a week. Then my parents." He stopped. Pressed his thumb and forefinger against his eyes like he was fighting something back. "My father got a job offer in Boston. Executive position. We left in 48 hours. I begged them to let me stay, finish the semester, anything. They said no. I was 17. What could I do?" The ache in her chest spread. She'd imagined this conversation so many times. Yelling at him, making him hurt the way she'd hurt, proving she was fine without him. She'd never imagined him looking broken. "You could have found me after," she said quietly. "College. Adulthood. Any time in the last 23 years. I looked." His voice was raw. "Senior year of college, I hired someone to find you. They said you'd moved. No forwarding address. No social media. I tried again 5 years ago, same thing. You're a ghost online." She was. On purpose. After her ex had used her Facebook photos in the divorce, claiming she was socializing excessively when she was just trying to have a life, she deleted everything. Kept her head down. Stayed private. "I'm not on social media," she confirmed. "I know. Now." He pulled something else from his pocket, a business card, cream-colored, expensive. "I'm staying at the Ritz downtown. This has my personal number. He swallowed. "I'd like to buy you coffee. Or dinner. Or just sit and let me apologize properly. But if you don't want that, I understand. I just needed you to know I'm sorry. And that you were never too plain. You are." He stopped. Looked at her like he was trying to memorize her face. "You're the girl who made senior year bearable. And I've regretted losing you for half my life." He set the card on her porch railing. Stepped back. Turned to leave. "Harrison." He froze. She didn't know why she said his name. Didn't know what came next. Her hand was shaking. The morning had shifted into something surreal, like she'd walked through a door in her hallway and ended up somewhere the rules didn't apply. "How long are you in Atlanta?" she heard herself ask. He turned back. Hope flickered across his face, tentative and young despite the expensive suit. "As long as it takes." "For the foundation?" "For you." The words hung in the air between them. She should say no. Should close the door and go back to her coffee and Jill Scott and pizza slice fractions. This was too much too fast. This was a man who'd left her standing alone in a high school gym with a wilted corsage and a permanently dented sense of worth. But he'd kept her photo for 30 years. And he was looking at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been carrying for decades. "Coffee," she said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Tuesday. 4 o'clock. There's a place on Peachtree called Brood Awakenings." Harrison's face transformed. Smile breaking through like sun after rain, real and unguarded and so familiar it hurt. "Tuesday. 4 o'clock. I'll be there." He walked to the black car parked at her curb. Something sleek and foreign that probably cost more than her annual salary. Before he got in, he looked back. "Thank you," he called. She nodded. Didn't trust her voice. Then he was gone, and she was standing on her porch in yoga pants and an old sweatshirt, holding a business card that probably cost more than her entire wallet, wondering what the hell she'd just done. Her phone buzzed. Text from her younger sister, Janelle. "Girl, where are you? Sunday dinner's at 3. Mama's making your favorite. Don't be late or she'll start praying over your uterus again." Simone smiled despite everything. Right. Sunday dinner. Her mother's kitchen table, her father's terrible jokes, Janelle's running commentary on every family member's business. Normal. Grounding. Real. She looked at Harrison's card. Raised lettering, simple design. Harrison Palmer, founder and CEO. Palmer Educational Initiative. And below it, a phone number. She should throw it away. Instead, she tucked it in her pocket and went back inside, where her coffee had gone cold and Jill Scott was singing about the way love makes you foolish. Simone knew all about that. Quick pause. If you're feeling this story, hype it so others can find it. Comment where you're watching from. Now, back to the story. Sunday dinner at her parents' house was exactly what Simone needed and absolutely the last thing she wanted. Her mother's kitchen smelled like heaven. Fried chicken crackling in a cast-iron skillet, collard greens simmering with smoked turkey, mac and cheese bubbling in the oven. Her father sat at the head of the table doing the crossword puzzle in pen like he always did, reading clues out loud to nobody in particular. Normal. Safe. The same table she'd sat at every Sunday for 39 years minus the 4 she'd spent at Howard and the 2 she'd tried living across town before admitting she missed this too much. "You're quiet." Her mother didn't look up from the chicken, but she had that tone. The one that meant she'd already diagnosed the problem and was just waiting for Simone to confess. Long week. Simone set the table. The good plates her grandmother had left them. Paper napkins because her mother said cloth ones were for Thanksgiving and funerals. Her mother flipped a chicken thigh, oil popping. "That why you checked your phone 4 times since you got here?" Simone's hand froze halfway to her pocket. She hadn't even realized she'd been doing it. Janelle walked in from the living room, her 2-year-old son perched on her hip. "Ooh, Mama's using her detective voice. What'd you do?" "Nothing." "She keeps checking her phone," their mother supplied helpfully. "It's a man." Janelle grinned, shifting her son to her other hip. "Has to be. You only get that face for men or parent-teacher conferences, and school's not in session." "There's no face." But Simone could feel heat creeping up her neck. Her father looked up from his crossword. "A man, huh? He respectful. Got a job. Not one of those cryptocurrency people." "Daddy." "Because your cousin Darnell lost $15,000 on something called Doge Moon and now he's living in his mama's basement eating cereal for dinner." "There's no man," Simone lied, and hated how her voice wavered. Her mother turned off the stove, wiped her hands on her apron, the one that said Queen of this kitchen that Simone and Janelle had gotten her for Mother's Day 3 years ago. Then she fixed Simone with the look that had extracted confessions about broken vases and sneaked cookies and bad report cards for 4 decades. "Baby girl. Talk." Simone sank into a chair. Her nephew reached for her, and she took him automatically, letting his toddler weight ground her. He smelled like baby shampoo and apple juice. Harrison Palmer showed up yesterday. Janelle's mouth fell open. Wait. Harrison. Prom Harrison. Disappeared into thin air Harrison. He didn't disappear. His parents moved. 2 days before prom, Janelle said flatly. "Leaving you looking like." She stopped, glanced at their mother. "Sorry. But the damage was done." Simone's throat tightened. She'd cried in her mother's lap that night, still in the cream dress, mascara ruined, trying to explain why it hurt so much when it was just a stupid dance. Except it wasn't just a dance. It was Brittany Chen's voice in the cafeteria. It was standing alone by the punch bowl. It was the moment she'd learned that wanting something didn't mean you deserved it. What did he want? Her mother's voice had gone soft. Dangerous soft. To apologize. After 30 years. Her father put down his pen. "That's some guilt." 23. Simone corrected automatically. "We were juniors." Still. Her father crossed his arms. Former Air Force, still built like he could run 5 miles before breakfast. "Man shows up after 2 decades, I want to know why now." "He said he looked for me. I wasn't online. He's opening a foundation here. Education focused. He just..." She swallowed. "He wanted to say sorry." Janelle leaned against the counter. And what? And are you seeing him again, or did you tell him to kick rocks?" Simone focused on her nephew's curls, soft under her fingers. "Coffee. Tuesday." The kitchen went quiet. Even her nephew stopped squirming. Her mother pulled out the chair next to her. Sat down heavy, the way she did when something needed discussing. Simone Marie Johnson. The full name. Never good. "This the boy who broke your heart?" "He didn't break. You cried for 3 days, her mother said gently. Wouldn't eat. Wouldn't talk. I had to practically drag you to graduation practice." Simone remembered. She'd felt hollow. Stupid for caring. Stupid for thinking a boy like Harrison Palmer, smart and kind and different from the others, had actually wanted to take her to prom because he liked her, not because he felt sorry for her. "That was a long time ago," she said quietly. "Hurt doesn't have an expiration date, baby." Her mother covered Simone's hand with her own. "What does he do now? This Harrison. He's a billionaire." Her father choked on his water. Janelle's eyes went wide. "Like actual billionaire?" Janelle asked. "With a B. Sold his tech company for over $4 billion. Now he's doing educational software." Her mother's hand tightened. "And he showed up at your house?" "Yes, ma'am." "Looking like what?" Simone couldn't help the small smile. "Like $4 billion." Janelle whistled low. "Girl. Don't girl me. It doesn't mean anything. He's apologizing. That's it. Men don't fly across the country to apologize unless it means something," her father said. "Trust me. I've been a man for 63 years. He's based here now. The foundation. Could be headquartered anywhere, her mother finished. New York. San Francisco. Why Atlanta? Simone didn't have an answer. Or she did, but it scared her too much to say it out loud. Her mother studied her face. Then sighed, stood, went back to the stove. Started plating food like the conversation was over. But Simone knew better. You know what I think, her mother said, loading collard greens onto a plate. What, Mama? I think you've spent 23 years believing what some mean girl said in a cafeteria. And I think Harrison Palmer showing up is either the best thing that could happen to you, she turned, met Simone's eyes, or the worst, depending on what you believe about yourself. The word settled into Simone's chest, heavy and uncomfortable. Set this on the table, her mother said, handing her the platter of chicken. Food's getting cold. Tuesday came too fast and too slow. Simone changed her outfit 4 times. Settled on dark jeans, a rust-colored sweater that Janelle said made her skin glow, her good boots. She flat-ironed her natural curls into smooth waves, then immediately regretted it because what if it looked like she was trying too hard? She was trying too hard. At 3:45, she stood outside Brood Awakenings watching people come and go. The coffee shop was busy. Students with laptops, business meetings, first dates. Through the window she could see the counter, the mismatched furniture, the local art on the walls. Normal. Neutral. Safe. Her phone buzzed. Janelle. You there yet? Simone, outside. Janelle. Go in. And send me a pic of him. I need to see if Billionaire looks different from regular rich. Simone smiled despite her nerves. Slid the phone into her purse. Took a breath. Pushed open the door. The smell hit her first. Espresso, cinnamon, something baking. Indie music played low under the conversation hum. She scanned the room looking for. Harrison stood near the back corner. He saw her the same moment she saw him, and his whole face changed. Lit up unguarded, like she was the only person in the room. He ditched the suit. Wore dark jeans, a gray sweater, leather jacket. Looked more like the boy she remembered and nothing like him at all. He raised a hand. Small wave, almost shy. She walked over, heart hammering. You came, he said. I said I would. I know. I just... He stopped. Smiled, and it was crooked, uncertain. I wasn't sure you wouldn't change your mind. I almost did. The honesty surprised them both. But something about his nervousness made hers easier to carry. I'm glad you didn't. He gestured to the counter. What can I get you? I can buy my own coffee. I know you can. I'd still like to buy it for you. Please. The please did something to her. Made her chest feel tight and warm at the same time. Caramel latte, she said. Oat milk. Extra shot. Still need the caffeine, huh? Third graders are exhausting. His smile softened. I bet you're incredible at it. She didn't know what to say to that. Watched him order, caramel latte for her, black coffee for him, 2 of whatever pastries the barista recommended. He paid with a black card he didn't even look at, and Simone tried not to think about the difference between his life and hers. They found a table in the corner. Quieter, away from the main traffic. He pulled out her chair, old-fashioned gesture that would have felt ridiculous from anyone else but felt natural from him. They sat. The silence stretched. This is weird, right? Harrison said finally. Not just me. So weird, she admitted, and they both laughed. The tension cracked. Okay. He wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. Tell me about your life. Catch me up on 23 years. Where did she even start? I went to Howard, she said. English degree. Thought about law school but, she shrugged. Didn't feel right. Got my teaching certification instead. Been at Oakwood Elementary for 11 years now. You love it. Not a question. He said it like he knew. I do, she said. I love watching kids figure things out. That moment when multiplication clicks or they finally understand why books matter. I love, she stopped. Sorry. I could talk about teaching forever. Don't apologize. It's, he looked at her like she was something rare. You always knew what mattered. Even in high school. You'd talk about books like they were living things. Made me actually want to read Gatsby. You hated Gatsby. I hated that everyone else loved it for the wrong reasons. You made it make sense. The memory surfaced. Library table, winter afternoon. Him frustrated with the symbolism until she'd explained it wasn't about the parties or the romance. It was about longing for something that never existed. She'd thought about that a lot over the years. Longing for something that never existed. What about you? She asked. How does someone go from scholarship kid to billionaire? He took a sip of coffee. Full ride to MIT. Computer science. Started coding tutoring apps sophomore year. Nothing fancy, just something to help kids like me who couldn't afford private tutors. It took off. Like, really took off. Sold it junior year for enough to fund something bigger. Built Palmer Tech from there. AI-driven personalized learning, adaptive assessments, that kind of thing. And sold it for $4 billion. 4.2, he corrected, then caught her expression. Sorry. That sounds insane, she finished. It sounds insane. It is insane. He leaned back. I still can't believe it most days. I kept waiting for someone to tell me there'd been a mistake. That I was still the kid wearing Goodwill sweaters who didn't belong at MIT. Something in her chest loosened. You feel like that too? Like what? Like you don't quite belong. Like everyone else got a manual you didn't. His eyes locked on hers. Every single day. The barista called a name. Someone laughed too loud. Music shifted to something acoustic and melancholy. But Simone couldn't look away from Harrison Palmer, billionaire, sitting across from her in a coffee shop admitting he still felt like an outsider. Why'd you keep my prom photo? The question came out before she could stop it. He didn't flinch. You want the real answer? Yes. Because that was the happiest I'd been in years. My parents were fighting constantly. Money was tight. School was brutal, honestly. Everyone knew I was there on scholarship. I didn't fit in anywhere. He traced the rim of his mug. Then you said yes to prom, and for 2 days I felt like maybe I wasn't completely invisible. Like someone saw me as, I don't know, worth something. Her throat burned. Harrison. When my parents told me we were moving, I asked if I could mail you the corsage I'd bought. Keep the date, even from Boston. My dad said I was being ridiculous. Threw it away. His jaw tightened. So, I kept your photo. Reminder that for 48 hours, someone chose me. She couldn't breathe. You had it backwards. I was the one nobody chose. You were smart and kind and you made me feel less alone too. They stared at each other across the small table. We were both idiots, Harrison said finally. Apparently. For the record, he leaned forward. I would have shown up. If my parents hadn't moved us. I would have been there in my borrowed suit with your corsage, and I would have danced with you all night. And I wouldn't have cared what Brittany Chen or anyone else said. Simone's eyes burned. She blinked hard, looking away. Hey. His voice went soft. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I believed her, Simone said quietly. When she said I was too plain. I believed her for 23 years. Every date that didn't work out, every time a man chose someone else, I thought, well, of course. I'm too plain. Simone, look at me. She did. His eyes were fierce. You were never plain. You are striking. Smart. Funny. Real in a way nobody else was. That school was full of people performing and you were just yourself. Do you know how rare that is? She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But 39 years of evidence suggested otherwise. Harrison must have seen it on her face because he reached across the table. Stopped just short of touching her hand. I'm going to prove it to you. Prove what? That you were never what she said. That you're... He stopped. Can I see you again? Her pulse jumped. Harrison. Please. Let me take you to dinner. Somewhere nice. Just let me show you how I see you. How I've always seen you. This was a terrible idea. He was a billionaire. She was a third-grade teacher who bought her jeans at Target. Their worlds didn't overlap. This would end badly. But he was looking at her like she was the answer he'd been searching for. And maybe she wanted to know what that felt like. Just once. Okay, she whispered. His face transformed. Yeah. One dinner, he agreed, but his smile said he was already planning more. They talked for 2 more hours. Coffee went cold. Pastries disappeared. She told him about her students, her parents, Janelle's toddler. He told her about the foundation, his plans for the Atlanta headquarters, how he wanted to fund programs in underfunded schools. Everything she'd thought about him at 17, that he was kind, thoughtful, genuinely good, was still true. Just amplified by time and resources. When they finally left, the sun had set. The air was cool, smelling like autumn and car exhaust and possibility. Thank you, Harrison said at her car, for giving me a chance. It's just coffee. It's more than that. He held her gaze. And you know it. She did. She absolutely did. He waited until she was in her car, doors locked, before walking to his. The expensive one that probably had a name she couldn't pronounce. As she drove home, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Harrison. In case you want to text instead of waiting until dinner. No pressure. Just wanted you to have my number. Again. She smiled despite herself. Saved his number. And tried not to think about how much trouble she was in. Harrison took her to Canoe. Simone knew the restaurant by reputation. Riverside, white tablecloths, the kind of place where outrace cost what she spent on groceries for 2 weeks. She'd driven past it 100 times, never imagining she'd walk through the doors. She wore the one dress she owned that felt expensive. Navy wrap dress Janelle had talked her into buying last year, never worn. Heels that pinched but made her legs look longer. Hair in loose curls because flat ironing twice in 1 week felt like trying too hard. Harrison was waiting in the lobby. Dark suit, no tie, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. He turned when she walked in and that look crossed his face again. The one that made her feel like light. You look, he stopped. Smiled. I don't have words. The dress is Macy's clearance rack, she said, then immediately regretted it. Why did she do that? Why did she always make herself smaller? I don't care where it's from. You're stunning. The hostess appeared before Simone could respond. Led them through the restaurant. All soft lighting and river views and quiet conversations. She could feel eyes following them. Wondered what people saw. Wondered if they were making the same calculations she'd made in the mirror. He doesn't match, this doesn't fit, something's wrong with this picture. Their table overlooked the Chattahoochee. Dark water reflecting restaurant lights. Harrison held her chair again. The gesture should have felt antiquated but just felt careful. Like he was trying to do everything right. Wine? He asked when they were seated. Sure. He ordered something French she didn't recognize. The waiter nodded like it was an excellent choice, and Simone wondered if everything in Harrison's life was like this now. People agreeing with him, smoothing his path, making things easy. When the waiter left, Harrison leaned forward. You're nervous. I'm not. Your left hand is tapping the table. You used to do that before tests. She stilled her hand. You remember that? I remember everything about you. He said it simply like it was obvious. How you organized your notes by color. How you always arrived exactly 7 minutes early. How you hummed when you were concentrating. Heat crept up her neck. I don't hum. You absolutely do. Under your breath. Something classical, I think. She did. Hadn't even realized it was a thing someone could notice. The wine arrived. Harrison went through the tasting ritual. Swirl, sniff, sip, nod. It looked rehearsed, like something he'd learned because he was supposed to. When they were alone again, she asked, Does it ever feel strange? The money. He considered the question. Every day. I'll be in a board meeting and suddenly remember I used to steal protein bars from the campus convenience store because I couldn't afford lunch. Then someone's talking about quarterly projections in the millions and I have to remind myself I belong there. Do you belong? I don't know. He met her eyes. Do you feel like you belong in teaching? Yes. The answer came immediately. When I'm with my students, that's the only time I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Then you're richer than I'll ever be. Something in his voice made her chest ache. Harrison. I'm serious. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But I don't have, he gestured vaguely, purpose that feels real. I'm building the foundation hoping it'll give me what you already have. That certainty. The waiter returned for their order. Simone chose something mid-price, trying not to wince at the number. Harrison ordered without looking at the menu, easy and confident in a way that reminded her how different their lives were. When they were alone again, she said, "You're funding educational programs for underprivileged kids. That's purpose. Maybe." He swirled his wine. Or maybe it's guilt. Trying to give other kids what I didn't have. Trying to prove I earned this. He looked at her. Do you ever feel like you have to prove yourself? Every single day. Why? The question caught her off guard. Why? As if there was a reason beyond just existing. Being. Taking up space in a world that had spent 39 years suggesting she was taking up too much or not enough. Never just right. Because she stopped. What was the real answer? I don't know. Because I'm not. Enough. He finished quietly. She swallowed. Nodded. Yeah, he said. Me too. They sat with that. River sounds drifted through the windows. Somewhere a couple laughed. We're a mess, Simone said finally. Speak for yourself. I'm very well adjusted. His mouth quirked. I only have 3 therapists. She laughed despite herself. 3. 1 for business stress. 1 for childhood trauma. 1 because the first 2 suggested I needed specialization in imposter syndrome. He said it light, but his eyes were serious. Money doesn't fix what's broken, Simone. Just makes it more expensive to ignore. Their food arrived. Something beautiful and carefully plated that looked more like art than dinner. Simone took a bite. It was good, but not better than her mother's cooking. Just fancier. Tell me about your students, Harrison said. What are they learning right now? She relaxed into safer territory. Told him about fractions and pizza slices, about Destiny who'd finally stopped reversing her numbers, about Marcus who'd memorized every dinosaur name but couldn't sit still for math. Harrison listened like it mattered. Asked questions. Laughed at the right moments. You really love them, he said. They're easy to love. They're still, she searched for words, themselves, before the world tells them who to be. That's what I want the foundation to protect. That, he leaned forward. I've been thinking. The foundation needs advisors. Teachers who understand what students actually need, not what curriculum designers think they need. Warning bells went off. Harrison. Hear me out. It'd be part-time. Consulting. You'd help shape the programs, test the software, tell me when I'm being an idiot about classroom reality. I have a job. Keep it. This would be, I don't know, 10 hours a month? Flexible schedule. And, he named a number that made her wine glass freeze halfway to her mouth. That's more than I make in 3 months. It's market rate for educational consultants. Harrison. She set down her glass carefully. You can't just throw money at me. I'm not. I'm offering you a job you're qualified for. A job I need filled. The money's. He stopped. Okay, I know how this looks. But I promise you this is real. I have 5 other advisors already hired. Former teachers, principals, curriculum specialists. You'd be part of a team. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But this felt too convenient. Too perfect. Too much like charity dressed up as opportunity. Let me think about it, she said. Disappointment flickered across his face, but he nodded. Of course. No pressure. The offer stands whenever you're ready. They finished dinner. Conversation flowed easier. High school memories, books they'd loved, that terrible English teacher who'd made everyone perform Hamlet. Normal things. Safe things. But underneath, Simone felt the weight of the question she couldn't ask. What do you really want from me? Harrison paid. Didn't even look at the bill, just slid his card to the waiter, and they walked out into October air that smelled like river water and changing leaves. Thank you for tonight, he said at her car. Thank you for dinner. It was. She smiled. Way fancier than I'm used to. We can do casual next time. Burgers. Pizza. Whatever you want. Next time. He said it like it was inevitable. Harrison. She turned to face him. What are we doing? He went still. What do you mean? This. Dinner. The job offer. You showing up after 23 years like. She gestured helplessly. I don't understand what you want. I want. He stopped. Ran a hand through his hair, messing up the careful style. I want to know you. The adult you. I want to make up for lost time. I want. He looked at her and something raw crossed his face. I want to stop wondering what would have happened if I'd made it to that prom. Her breath caught. We were kids, she said. You can't build something now based on what didn't happen then. Why not? Because we're different people. Because you're a billionaire and I'm a teacher who clips coupons. Because this doesn't make sense. So what? He stepped closer. Not touching, but close enough she could feel his warmth. Some of the best things don't make sense. You taught me that. Remember? Gatsby. You said the green light didn't make sense, but that's what made it matter. That's literature. Not real life. Then explain why I've thought about you for 23 years. Explain why I chose Atlanta for the headquarters when I could have gone anywhere. Explain why, his voice dropped. Explain why I'm standing here terrified you're going to tell me this was a mistake. She couldn't breathe. The parking lot was empty except for them. River sounds carried on the wind. I don't know if I can be what you think I am, she whispered. What do I think you are? Someone worth. She gestured at the restaurant, at him, at everything. This. Someone who deserves a billionaire showing up with apologies and job offers and... You do deserve it. All of it. He said it fierce. And I'm going to keep showing up until you believe it. Her phone buzzed. Text from Janelle. 911. Call me. Simone's heart jumped. I'm sorry I have to. She dialed. Janelle picked up on the first ring. It's fine, everyone's fine, Janelle said immediately. But you need to know, Brittany Chen is talking about you. Simone's blood went cold. What? She posted on Facebook. About Harrison. Someone saw you two at Canoe tonight and told her. She's saying. Janelle's voice went tight. She's saying he's probably doing charity work. Helping out his old high school. That there's no way someone like him is actually interested in. I have to go. Simone ended the call. Harrison was watching her, concerned. What's wrong? Nothing. I need to go home. Simone. Thank you for dinner. She fumbled for her car keys. Hands shaking. I'll think about the job offer. Did something happen? Yes. Reality happened. The reminder that this was temporary, impossible. A fantasy she'd been stupid enough to believe in for 3 hours. I just need to go, she said. She got in her car before he could respond. Drove away before she could see his face. Her phone rang immediately. Harrison. She didn't answer. Rang again. Janelle. She picked up. Don't listen to her, Janelle said. Brittany's miserable. 3 divorces, lives with her mother, works at a call center. She's been bitter since high school. She's right though. Simone's voice cracked. Why would someone like Harrison want someone like me? Because you're brilliant and kind and beautiful? Because you're real? Because unlike everyone else in his billionaire bubble, you actually care about things that matter. Or because he feels guilty about prom and I'm a project. Silence. Then, you don't actually believe that. But she did. Some part of her, the part that had stood alone at prom, the part that had listened to Brittany's laughter, the part that had spent 39 years feeling like a consolation prize, absolutely believed it. I have to go, Simone said. Simone. She ended the call. Drove home in silence. Her phone buzzed. Text from Harrison. I don't know what happened, but please call me when you're ready. I meant everything I said. She stared at the message until her vision blurred. Then turned off her phone and went inside to her empty house, where the silence felt safer than believing in something that couldn't possibly be real. Simone avoided Harrison for 8 days. She didn't answer his calls. Deleted his texts without reading past the first line. Threw herself into lesson plans with the kind of focus usually reserved for the week before standardized testing. Her students noticed. Ms. Johnson, you okay? Destiny asked on Thursday, watching Simone stare at the same page of her planning book for 10 minutes straight. I'm fine, baby. Just thinking. About what? About how stupid she'd been. About how Brittany Chen's words still had power after 30 years. About how she'd let herself believe for 3 hours that maybe. Fractions, she lied. Always thinking about fractions. Destiny looked skeptical. 8 years old and already too perceptive. My mama says when grown-ups say they're fine, they're usually sad. Smart kid. Your mama's a wise woman. That afternoon, Simone stayed late organizing her classroom library. Anything to avoid going home to the silence and her phone and the texts she knew were waiting. She was shelving books alphabetically, something she'd done twice already this year, when her classroom door opened. Her principal, Dr. Patricia Clark, leaned against the doorframe. 60-something, silver locks, the kind of woman who'd taught for 30 years before going into administration and still remembered what mattered. You've alphabetized those books 3 times this week, Dr. Clark observed. They keep getting out of order. Dr. Clark walked in, closed the door. Sat in one of the tiny student chairs that made her look ridiculous and somehow more authoritative at the same time. Want to tell me why Harrison Palmer's assistant called asking about your schedule? Simone's hands stilled on a copy of Charlotte's Web. What? Nice woman. Very professional. Said Mr. Palmer wanted to send something to the school but needed to coordinate timing. I told her I'd check with you first. Dr. Clark folded her hands. So, you going to explain why a billionaire is trying to send you things? Simone sank into the other student chair. It was too small. Her knees hit the desk. She didn't care. It's complicated. Most things worth having are. Dr. Clark waited. And somehow, maybe because she was tired, maybe because Dr. Clark had that way of making you want to tell the truth, Simone explained. Prom. Harrison disappearing. Him showing up. Coffee. Dinner. Brittany's post. Her running. When she finished, Dr. Clark was quiet for a long moment. You think he's doing charity work, she said finally. I don't know what I think. Yes, you do. You think you're not good enough. You think a man with money couldn't possibly want a woman who teaches 3rd grade and drives a 10-year-old Camry. Simone's throat tightened. Isn't that the logical conclusion? Logic. Dr. Clark snorted. Baby, I've been married 42 years to a man who makes half what I make and can't cook to save his life. You think logic had anything to do with that? Despite everything, Simone smiled. Love, real love, isn't about matching tax brackets, Dr. Clark continued. It's about who makes you want to be better. Who sees you on your worst day and stays anyway. Who, she leaned forward. Who shows up? And from what you just told me, Harrison Palmer has been showing up. Even when you won't answer his calls. He feels guilty. Does guilt make a man fly across the country? Does guilt make him remember how you organized your notes? Does guilt make him keep a photo for 23 years? Dr. Clark's voice softened. Or is that something else entirely? Simone couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe past the hope trying to claw its way up her chest. What did he want to send? she asked quietly. Dr. Clark pulled out her phone. Read from an email. 20 new iPads for the school. Educational software subscriptions. Funding for our library renovation. And, she looked up. A personal note requesting that whatever we accept, your name stays off it completely. Because, quote, Ms. Johnson has earned the respect of her students and colleagues through years of dedication, and I won't compromise that by making this about me. Simone's vision blurred. Still think he's doing charity work? Dr. Clark asked gently. Simone lasted until Friday evening. She sat in her car outside her house, staring at her phone. Harrison's last text was from 3 days ago. I'm not going anywhere. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. She typed, I'm sorry. Deleted it. Typed. Can we talk? Deleted it. Finally settled on, are you free? The response came in 30 seconds. Harrison, yes. Where? Simone, my place? If that's okay. Harrison, I'll be there in 20 minutes. She used the time to panic clean. Put away the dishes in the sink, light the candle that smelled like vanilla and cinnamon, change from her teaching clothes into jeans and a sweater. Then stood in her living room feeling ridiculous. This was her house. Small. Lived in. The couch was second-hand from her parents. The art on the walls was from local student shows. Everything was modest. Real. Nothing like the world Harrison lived in. The knock came exactly 20 minutes later. She opened the door. Harrison looked tired. Still put together in that way money made inevitable, but his eyes had shadows. Like he hadn't been sleeping. Hi, he said. Hi. She stepped back. Come in. He walked into her living room, and she tried to see it through his eyes. Probably tiny compared to wherever he lived. Probably cramped. Probably. This is perfect, Harrison said, turning to look at her. It feels like you. Is that good or bad? Good. It's... He gestured at the bookshelves lining one wall, overflowing with novels and teaching manuals and student gifts. It's real. Lived in. Like someone actually exists here, not just occupies space. She didn't know what to say to that. I'm sorry, she said instead. For running. For ignoring your calls. For. Don't. He moved closer. You don't have to apologize. I pushed too hard. The job offer, the dinner, all of it. I didn't think about how it would look. How it would feel. Brittany posted. I know. Janelle sent me screenshots. His jaw tightened. Along with a very detailed message about what she'd do to me if I hurt you. Your sister's terrifying, by the way. Despite everything, Simone smiled. She learned from our mother. Remind me never to cross either of them. He paused. Can we sit? They sat on her second-hand couch. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him. He smelled like expensive cologne and something underneath. Coffee, maybe, or stress. I need to tell you something, Harrison said. And I need you to just listen. Okay. Her stomach dropped. Okay. He took a breath. When I sold Palmer Tech, I could have done anything. Retired. Traveled. Bought an island. Everyone said I was crazy to start another company, especially something as low profit as educational software. He looked at his hands. But I kept thinking about us. High school. How we were both scholarship kids in a school that made us feel like we were less than. How you were the only person who made me feel like being smart mattered more than being rich. And I thought, his voice roughened. I thought if I could build something that helped other kids like us, maybe I could prove I wasn't just lucky. Maybe I could prove I deserved what I had. Harrison. I'm not done. He met her eyes. I looked for you. 5 years ago. Hired a private investigator. He found your school but said you were very private. No social media. No public information. I could have, he swallowed. I could have shown up then. But I was scared. What if you were married? What if you'd forgotten me? What if I was building you up in my head and the real you didn't want anything to do with me? Simone's chest ached. So I waited. Told myself I needed to have something to offer first. Built the foundation. Made sure it was real, sustainable, not just vanity. Then I opened the Atlanta office. And I told myself I'd look you up. Just see if you were okay. Maybe send a letter. Something. But you showed up at my door instead. I drove past your house 4 times, he admitted. Talked myself out of it 3 times. Then on the 4th pass, I saw you in the window, laughing at something on your phone. And he stopped. I couldn't not talk to you. Couldn't drive away again. So I knocked. Silence settled between them. Outside, someone's dog barked. A car drove past. The job offer is real, Harrison said quietly. I do need educational consultants. I have 5 already hired. I can give you their names, their credentials. Proof this isn't charity. The money's market rate. You're qualified. But, he turned to face her fully. I won't pretend I'm not hoping you'll say yes because it means I get to see you more. I won't lie about that. And dinner. Her voice came out barely a whisper. What was that? Me trying to show you I'm serious. That I'm not here because I feel guilty. I'm here because... He stopped. Started again. I'm here because I've spent 23 years wondering what would have happened if I'd made it to that prom. And now I know. We would have danced. We would have talked all night. And I would have fallen in love with you even faster than I'm falling now. Her breath caught. Harrison. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to feel the same way. He stood up, ran a hand through his hair. I needed you to know the truth. I'm not doing charity. I'm not trying to fix guilt. I'm just trying to figure out if we get a second chance at something we never got to start. Simone couldn't move. Her heart was hammering so hard she could hear it. Brittany Chen is wrong, Harrison said, voice fierce. She was wrong 30 years ago when she called you too plain. She's wrong now saying I'm doing charity work. You are not, and have never been, someone who needs fixing or helping or saving. You're. He looked at her, and his eyes were bright. You're the girl who made me believe I was worth something when I had nothing. And now I have everything, and the only thing that matters is whether you'll let me prove you're worth everything too. The tears she'd been holding back spilled over. Harrison moved toward her immediately, then stopped. Can I? She nodded. He sat back down closer this time. Pulled her into his arms. Careful, like she might break. She pressed her face against his chest and cried. Messy, ugly crying. All the years of feeling not enough, all the dates that went nowhere, all the time she'd wondered what was wrong with her. Harrison just held her. Didn't try to fix it or stop it. Just stroked her hair and let her fall apart. When she finally pulled back, his expensive sweater was soaked. I'm sorry, she said, voice wrecked. Don't be. He cupped her face gently, thumbs wiping away tears. You're allowed to feel this. I don't know if I can believe you, she whispered. I want to. But I've spent so long believing I'm not enough. I know. His voice was soft. But Simone, you're everything. You always have been. And I'm going to keep showing up until you believe it. Even if it takes another 23 years. She laughed despite the tears. That's a long time. I've got nothing but time. He smiled, and it was crooked and real and so familiar it hurt. And nowhere I'd rather spend it. She looked at him, really looked. Saw the boy who'd asked her to prom with a handmade poster. Saw the man who'd kept her photo for decades. Saw someone who was just as scared and unsure as she was. I'm a mess, she said. So am I. I clip coupons. I drive a Camry. I buy my jeans at Target. And I'd give up every dollar to have what you have. Purpose. Students who love you. A family who shows up. A life that matters. Your life matters. It's starting to. He held her gaze. Because you're in it. Her heart did something complicated in her chest. Scary and hopeful and terrifying. I need time, she said. To think. To figure out if I can. Take all the time you need. He started to pull away. She caught his hand. "But don't go far." His face transformed. "I won't. I promise." They sat there in her small living room, hands intertwined, while the candle burned and the evening settled into night. And for the first time in 39 years, Simone Johnson let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she was exactly enough. The invitation arrived on Monday. Simone found it in her school mailbox, tucked between a PTA newsletter and a reminder about Picture Day. Thick cream cardstock, embossed lettering that caught the light. "You are cordially invited to the Palmer Educational Initiative Foundation Gala Friday, November 3rd, 7 p.m. the St. Regis Atlanta, honoring educators who transform lives." Her name was handwritten at the top in script she didn't recognize. Below, in different handwriting, Harrison's, she realized with a jolt, a note. "I know you hate fancy events. I know this isn't your thing. But I'm honoring 10 teachers Friday night, and you should be there to see what real educators look like. No pressure. No expectations. Just, please come." She traced the words with her finger. Dr. Clark appeared at her elbow. "That the gala invitation. You got one too. Whole school did. He's honoring Mrs. Freeman from 5th grade. 30 years teaching, never missed a day. Practically raised half this neighborhood." Dr. Clark smiled. "Good man, you're Harrison Palmer. He's not my Dr. Clark walked away, but Simone heard her chuckling. By Wednesday, the whole school was talking about it. Mrs. Freeman was crying happy in the teacher's lounge, showing everyone the personal letter Harrison had sent explaining why she'd been chosen. The lunch ladies were debating what to wear. Even the students had heard. Marcus asked Simone if she was going to that fancy party with Miss Freeman and the rich man. "I don't know," Simone admitted. "You should go," Destiny said, appearing at her elbow during recess. "Ms. Freeman's real excited. And my mama says when somebody invites you somewhere special, it's rude to say no." "Your mama's got opinions about everything, huh?" "Yes, ma'am." Destiny grinned. "She also says Mr. Palmer likes you. She saw y'all at Canoe. Said he looked at you like you were dessert." Simone's face went hot. "Destiny." "I'm just saying what she said." Destiny ran off giggling. Great. Even the 8-year-olds were gossiping about her love life. That evening, Janelle showed up at her door with garment bags and determination. "We're finding you a dress," she announced, pushing past Simone into the living room. "I haven't decided if I'm going." "You're going." Janelle laid the garment bags across the couch. "Mrs. Freeman deserves to see you there. The other teachers deserve support. And Harrison Palmer deserves to see you in something that makes him forget his own name." "Janelle." "Nope. No arguments." She unzipped the first bag. "I borrowed these from Keisha, you remember her, she works at that boutique in Buckhead. She owed me a favor." The first dress was emerald green. Beautiful. Way too revealing. The second was black and sophisticated. Too corporate. The third made Simone stop breathing. Deep burgundy, almost wine-colored. Off the shoulder with a fitted bodice and a skirt that flowed like water. Elegant without being flashy. Sophisticated without trying too hard. "That's the one," Janelle said, watching her face. "That's definitely the one." Simone touched the fabric. Soft. Probably cost more than her mortgage payment. "I can't afford. It's borrowed. And before you argue, Keisha said you're doing her a favor. She needs photos for Instagram and you're gonna look stunning." Janelle pulled out heels next. Strappy, gold, the kind Simone would never buy herself. "Now try it on before I drag you to that bathroom." 20 minutes later, Simone stood in front of her bedroom mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress fit perfectly. Made her skin glow. Made her look, not like someone else. Like a version of herself she'd never let exist. Confident. Beautiful. Worth looking at. "You're crying," Janelle said softly. Simone touched her face. She was. "I don't look like me. Baby girl." Janelle came to stand behind her, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "You look exactly like you. You just finally look like you believe it." Friday arrived too fast. Simone spent the day distracted, messing up fraction lessons and forgetting lunch duty until Dr. Clark came looking for her. Her students were hyper, sensing her nerves the way kids always did. "You look pretty today, Ms. Johnson," Marcus said during silent reading. "I look the same as always." "Nah. You got that glow. Like when people are happy nervous." He said it matter of fact, then went back to his book. 8 years old and reading her like a picture book. She left school at 3. Went home. Stared at the dress hanging on her closet door for 20 minutes before her mother called. "You getting ready?" Her mother asked without preamble. "How did you?" "Janelle told me everything. I'm coming over to do your hair." "Mama, you don't have to." "Hush. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Put on some Alicia Keys and get in the shower." Her mother arrived with her hot comb, her good products, and the kind of determination that meant resistance was futile. By 6:30, Simone's natural curls were styled into soft waves that framed her face. Her mother had done her makeup, subtle but polished, highlighting features Simone usually ignored. "Look at my baby," her mother said, stepping back. "Look at you." Simone looked. Saw a woman in a burgundy dress who looked confident, sophisticated, beautiful. Saw herself. "He's not gonna know what hit him," her mother said, smiling. Then her expression shifted. "But baby, you remember. You're not getting dressed up for him. You're getting dressed up for you. Because you deserve to feel beautiful. With or without Harrison Palmer." Simone hugged her mother tight. "Thank you, Mama." "Anytime, baby girl. Now go. You're gonna be late. And call me tomorrow, I want details." The St. Regis was overwhelming. Simone pulled up to valet parking, her 10-year-old Camry looking ridiculous next to the Mercedes and BMWs and Teslas, and immediately wanted to turn around. But the valet took her keys like her car was perfectly normal, and then she was walking into the lobby and it was too late to run. The gala was in the ballroom. She followed the signs, following other dressed-up people, trying to look like she belonged. The ballroom doors opened, and she stopped breathing. Chandeliers dripping crystal. Round tables with centerpieces that probably cost more than her monthly salary. A stage at the front with screens showing photos of classrooms. People everywhere, easily 200, all dressed like money was no object. She spotted Mrs. Freeman immediately, surrounded by family, crying happy again. Then she saw Harrison. He stood near the stage talking to a group of people in expensive suits. He wore a tuxedo, actual tuxedo, bow tie, the whole thing, and looked like he'd been born to it. Confident. Commanding. Every inch the billionaire. As if sensing her, he turned. Their eyes met across the room. His face transformed. Conversation stopped. He excused himself from the group, didn't even seem to hear their responses, and walked toward her like she was the only person in the room. "Simone." Her name came out reverent. "You came." Mrs. Freeman deserved support. It came out steadier than she felt. "You're—" He stopped. Stared. "I don't have words. You're stunning." Heat crept up her neck. "It's just a dress." "It's not the dress." His voice dropped. "It's you. It's always been you." Someone clinked a glass. The crowd started moving toward tables. "I should find my seat," Simone said. "You're at my table. Front and center." He offered his arm. "Please." She hesitated. Felt every eye in the room on them. Wondered what people were thinking. Then decided she didn't care. She took his arm. He led her to a table right in front of the stage. Place cards had names she didn't recognize. Board members, probably, or major donors. Her name sat right next to his. "Harrison Palmer, you snake," a woman's voice said behind them. Simone turned. A black woman in her 60s, silver hair in an elegant updo, wearing purple like royalty. Her eyes were warm but assessing. "Dr. Richardson," Harrison said, smiling. "Simone, this is Dr. Angela Richardson. She's on the foundation board. Dr. Richardson, this is Simone Johnson. She teaches 3rd grade at Oakwood Elementary. And she's the woman from the prom photo," Dr. Richardson said, eyes twinkling. "Harrison's told us all about you." Simone's heart jumped. "He has?" "Oh yes. We heard all about the brilliant teacher he'd been trying to convince to join our advisory board." Dr. Richardson sat down at their table. "I told him if he scared you off with too much enthusiasm, I'd fire him from his own foundation." Despite her nerves, Simone laughed. Dinner was surprisingly easy. Dr. Richardson kept conversation flowing, asking Simone about her students, her teaching philosophy, what she thought educational software was missing. Other board members joined in, real questions, genuine interest, nothing condescending. Harrison barely spoke. Just watched Simone talk, that look on his face like she was solving equations he'd been stuck on for years. Then dinner ended, and the program began. A video played. Classrooms, students, teachers who'd been nominated. Mrs. Freeman appeared on screen talking about why she taught, and half the room was crying by the end. Harrison took the stage. He looked natural up there, confident. But when he spoke, his voice was softer than Simone expected. "I was a scholarship kid," he said. "Wore the same 3 shirts on rotation. Stole granola bars because I couldn't afford lunch. Got good grades because I knew it was my only way out." The room went quiet. "And I had teachers who saw me, who stayed late to help, who slipped me books they said nobody wanted anymore, except we both knew they'd bought them themselves, who made me believe I was worth more than my bank account." He paused, looked directly at the teachers being honored. "You are why I'm here. Why I built this foundation. Why I'm dedicating the rest of my life to making sure other kids like me have what you gave me. Someone who sees them." Applause erupted. Harrison called up Mrs. Freeman first, presented her with an award, beautiful glass sculpture, and a check that made her sob. Then 9 more teachers, each with their own story, each honored publicly. Then Harrison returned to the microphone. "There's one more person I want to recognize tonight." Simone's stomach dropped. She's not receiving an award yet. But she should. Because she's been teaching for 11 years. Because her students love her. Because she stays late cutting paper into pizza slices to teach fractions. Because he looked directly at her. Because 23 years ago, she was the only person who made me feel like I mattered. And tonight I want to return the favor. The screen behind him changed. Photos appeared. Her classroom. Her students. When had he taken these? Then older photos. Her at Howard graduation. Her first day teaching. Her with her 3rd graders from last year, all smiling, arms around each other. "Simone Johnson," Harrison said, voice carrying across the silent ballroom, "is everything a teacher should be. Patient, creative, dedicated. She teaches because she loves it, because she believes every kid deserves someone who sees them." He paused. "The way she saw me when nobody else did." Simone's vision blurred. 200 people were staring at her. She couldn't breathe. "I'm not giving you an award tonight," Harrison continued, "because you don't need my validation. You've earned the respect of your students, your colleagues, your community. I'm just—" His voice cracked. "I'm just grateful you exist. Grateful you're here. Grateful you gave a scholarship kid a chance 23 years ago. And grateful you're giving him a chance now." The room erupted. Applause so loud Simone felt it in her chest. People at her table were standing. Dr. Richardson was crying. Mrs. Freeman was clapping so hard her bracelet flew off. And Harrison was walking off the stage, toward her, eyes locked on hers like she was the only person in the world. He stopped in front of her table, held out his hand. "Dance with me," he said. "Please." The dance we never got. Music started, soft, slow, instrumental version of something old and beautiful. Simone's hand was shaking when she took his. He led her to the dance floor, pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers. They started swaying, and Simone felt the room watching but couldn't bring herself to care. "I'm sorry," Harrison whispered. "I know you hate attention. But I needed everyone to know." "Know what?" "That you matter. That you're—" He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. That you're the most important person in this room. To me. To your students. To everyone who's lucky enough to know you. Tears spilled over. She couldn't stop them. I spent 23 years believing I wasn't enough, she whispered. I know. I don't know if I can stop believing it just because you say different. I know. He wiped her tears with his thumb. But Simone, I'm going to spend however long it takes showing you. Every single day. Until you believe what I've known since we were 17. What's that? That you were never too plain. You were extraordinary. You still are. And I. He stopped. Swallowed hard. I'm falling in love with you. And I don't want to stop. The world narrowed to just them. Music and lights and 200 people faded. Harrison. You don't have to say it back. You don't have to feel the same way. I just needed you to know. Needed you to hear it. Because Brittany Chen was wrong. Everyone who ever made you feel less than was wrong. And I'm going to make sure you never doubt it again. Simone looked at him, really looked. Saw the 17-year-old boy who'd asked her to prom with a handmade poster. Saw the man who'd kept her photo for decades. Saw someone who looked at her like she hung the moon. And for the first time in 39 years, she let herself believe it might be true. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. What if this doesn't work? Then we figure it out together. He pulled her closer. But Simone, I'm not going anywhere. Not this time. Not ever. The song ended. Another began. They kept dancing. And somewhere in that ballroom full of important people and expensive dresses and crystal chandeliers, Simone Johnson finally stopped feeling like the girl who wasn't enough. She felt like the woman who'd always been everything. The photo went viral. Not the professional shots from the gala photographer, though those were beautiful. The viral one was taken by someone's iPhone. Simone and Harrison on the dance floor, her in the burgundy dress, him looking at her like she'd hung every star in the sky. The caption read, Billionaire Harrison Palmer honors the teacher who changed his life 23 years ago. By Saturday morning, it had been shared 40,000 times. Simone woke up to 73 text messages. Janelle, girl. You're famous. Call me. Her mother. Very proud of you, baby. That man loves you. Don't run from it. Dr. Clark. The school phone has been ringing off the hook. Good press for once. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk Monday. And then, buried in the notifications, one that made her stomach clench. Unknown number. This is Brittany Chen. We need to talk. Simone stared at it for a full minute. Then deleted it. She wasn't doing this. Not today. Not when she could still feel Harrison's hands on her waist. His voice saying I'm falling in love with you like it was the easiest truth in the world. Her doorbell rang. She pulled on a robe over her pajamas, padded to the door, looked through the peephole. Harrison stood on her porch holding coffee cups and a bag that smelled like fresh pastries. She opened the door. It's 8 in the morning. I know. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about. He stopped, took her in. Hair in a bonnet, old Howard t-shirt, bare feet. You're beautiful. I look like I just woke up. Exactly. He held up the coffee. Caramel latte. Extra shot. Still your favorite. She took the cup. Let him inside. They sat at her small kitchen table, the one that had been her grandmother's, scarred from decades of family dinners, and ate croissants while morning light filtered through the curtains. Have you seen the photo? Harrison asked. Hard to miss. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing. I'm sorry. I didn't think about. Don't. She set down her coffee. Don't apologize for last night. It was. She searched for words. It was the most terrifying, beautiful thing anyone's ever done for me. His face softened. Yeah. Yeah. She smiled. Even if I wanted to murder you for about 5 minutes when you put my photos on that screen. Only 5 minutes. Maybe 10. They laughed and it felt easy. Normal. Like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. I need to tell you something, Simone said. And I need you to just listen. Okay. Concern flickered across his face, but he nodded. She took a breath. I've spent my whole life feeling like I was taking up space I didn't deserve. Too plain for prom. Too average for love. Too ordinary for anything special. And when you showed up, her voice caught. I wanted to believe you. But I was so scared. Because if I believed you and you left again, I'm not leaving. Let me finish. She met his eyes. Last night, when you said those things in front of all those people, when you looked at me like that, something shifted. Not because you validated me, but because I realized. She swallowed. I realized I've been an incredible teacher for 11 years. I've changed lives. I've made a difference. With or without you acknowledging it. Harrison's eyes were bright. And I have a family who loves me, she continued. Friends who show up. Students who remember me. I have a good life. A real life. And her throat tightened. I don't need you to make me whole. I was already whole. I know, he said quietly. But, she reached across the table, took his hand. I want you anyway. Not because you're rich. Not because you can give me things. But because you make me laugh. Because you see me. Because you kept my photo for 23 years, and that's either really romantic or slightly creepy, but I'm choosing romantic. He laughed through what looked suspiciously like tears. I'm scared, Simone admitted. Our lives are so different. You have galas and board meetings and private jets probably. I have parent-teacher conferences and car payments and a couch from Goodwill. I love that couch. Harrison. I'm serious. He squeezed her hand. Your life is real. It's full of people who matter and work that means something. My life is, he gestured vaguely, conference rooms and profit margins and people who only like me because of what I can do for them. Except you. You liked me when I had nothing. You weren't nothing. I felt like it. Until you. His voice went rough. So yeah, our lives are different. But Simone, I don't want my life. I want a life that looks more like yours. And if you'll let me, I want to build it with you. Her heart did something complicated. Scary and hopeful and terrifying. I don't know how this works, she whispered. Neither do I. But we'll figure it out. He stood, came around the table, pulled her to her feet. We'll take it slow. We'll make mistakes. We'll learn fractions together. He laughed. Exactly. We'll learn fractions together. She looked up at him, really looked. Saw fear and hope and something so tender it made her chest ache. I'm falling too, she said quietly. In love with you. It terrifies me. But I'm falling. Harrison pulled her close. Held her like she was precious. Like she was everything. And Simone let herself be held. Monday came with consequences. Simone arrived at school to find news vans in the parking lot. Back en trance, Dr. Clark said, intercepting her before she could even get out of her car. Media wants interviews. I told them you're unavailable. But... She hesitated. You should know. Brittany Chen called the school. Said she has information about you and Harrison. Implied there's more to the story. Simone's stomach dropped. What kind of information? She wouldn't say. But she sounded. Dr. Clark chose her words carefully. Desperate. Like she needed attention. She probably does, Simone said quietly. She's been bitter since high school. Want me to handle it? No. Simone squared her shoulders. I'll handle it. She texted Brittany. You want to talk? Fine. Coffee. Today. 4 p.m. Same place I met Harrison. The response came immediately. I'll be there. Brittany Chen looked older than Simone expected. 42, same as Harrison, but worn down in a way that spoke of hard years. She wore too much makeup. Her designer purse was last season. Simone only knew because Janelle kept her informed about these things. They sat across from each other in Brood Awakenings, and Simone felt like she was 17 again, watching Brittany hold court in the cafeteria. hearing her say too plain loud enough for everyone to hear. You wanted to talk, Simone said. So talk. Brittany's jaw tightened. I saw the photo. You and Harrison Palmer. Quite the Cinderella story. If you came here to insult me, I came to apologize. Simone stopped. Stared. Brittany looked away. What I said in high school. About you being too plain. I was. She swallowed. I was horrible. Mean. I spent the last 23 years being horrible to people because I hated myself. And now I'm 42, divorced 3 times, working a job I hate, living with my mother. And you. Her voice cracked. You became someone. You matter. You have a man who looks at you like. She stopped. Like I've never been looked at in my life. Simone didn't know what to say. I posted that stuff on Facebook because I was jealous, Brittany continued. Because you're happy. Because you have something real. And I wanted to, I don't know, tear it down. Make myself feel better. That's a terrible reason. I know. Brittany met her eyes. Red-rimmed. Exhausted. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I needed you to know I was wrong. About everything. You were never too plain. You are beautiful. Inside and out. And Harrison Palmer is lucky to have you. Silence stretched between them. The coffee shop hummed with afternoon conversations. Why now? Simone asked finally. Why apologize after 23 years? Because I saw your face in that photo, Brittany said quietly. You looked happy. Really happy. And I realized, I've spent my whole life trying to make other people feel small so I could feel big. And it never worked. I'm still miserable. Still empty. Still, her voice broke. Still the mean girl nobody likes. Simone should feel vindicated. Should feel satisfied watching Brittany Chen, popular, beautiful, cruel Brittany, admit she was wrong. Instead, she just felt sad. You could change, Simone said. It's not too late. For what? To become someone you're proud of. To do something that matters. She shrugged. To stop being mean and start being kind. Brittany laughed, but it was bitter. I wouldn't even know where to start. Therapy helped me, Simone offered. After my ex. After years of feeling not enough. It made a difference. Brittany looked at her like she was speaking a foreign language. You went to therapy? For 3 years. Still go sometimes when I need it. But you have everything together. No. Simone smiled sadly. I just learned how to live with being human. How to be okay with being imperfect. She stopped. How to stop letting people like you define me. The words landed between them. Brittany flinched. But she nodded. I deserved that. Yeah, you did. They sat in uncomfortable silence. I'm not going to call the school again, Brittany said finally. Or post about you. Or whatever. I'll leave you alone. You deserve to be happy. She stood to leave. Brittany. She turned back. Get help, Simone said gently. Real help. Not for me. For you. Because you deserve to be happy too. Even if you don't believe it yet. Brittany's eyes filled. She nodded once, then left. Simone sat there for a long time, coffee going cold, watching people come and go. Her phone buzzed. Harrison, how did it go? Simone. Better than expected. Tell you tonight. Harrison. Dinner at your place? I'll cook. Simone, you cook? Harrison. I make excellent reservations. She smiled despite everything. Simone, deal. 7 p.m. 3 weeks later, Simone said yes to the advisory position. Not because Harrison asked, though he did repeatedly with increasing creativity. Once with pizza slices labeled with reasons. Once with a presentation her students helped make. Once just by looking at her and saying, please, I need you. She said yes because Dr. Richardson called and explained the position properly. The hours. The expectations. the other advisors who were already shaping programs, the way Simone's classroom expertise could influence software design. She said yes because it was real work, important work, work that mattered, and maybe, just a little, because it meant seeing Harrison more often. The foundation headquarters opened in December. Beautiful building in Midtown, floor-to-ceiling windows, spaces designed for collaboration. Simone went to her first advisory meeting nervous, certain she'd be out of her depth. Instead, she found teachers like her. People who cared about students, who understood classrooms, who wanted technology to serve learning instead of replacing it. "You're good at this," Harrison said afterward, walking her to her car. "I just know what works with third graders." "You know what works with learning. There's a difference." He stopped at her Camry, leaned against it. "Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for asking properly instead of just," she gestured vaguely, "throwing money at problems. I'm learning." He smiled. "You're teaching me. Like fractions. Exactly like fractions." He kissed her then, soft, sweet, careful. Like every time was the first time. Like she was something precious. When they pulled apart, she said, "My family wants to meet you. Officially. Sunday dinner." His eyes went wide. "Really? If you're ready. Fair warning. My mother's going to interrogate you. My father's going to do the protective dad thing even though I'm 39. And Janelle's going to make inappropriate comments." "Sounds perfect." "You say that now. Simone." He cupped her face. "I'd face 1,000 Sunday dinners if it means being part of your life." Her heart did that complicated thing again. The scary, hopeful, terrifying thing. "Okay then," she said. "Sunday. 3 o'clock. Don't be late or my mother will assume you're not serious." "I'll be early." "Of course you will." Sunday dinner was exactly as advertised. Her mother grilled Harrison about his intentions, his faith, his opinions on marriage and children, and whether he knew how to change a tire. Her father made him watch football and explain the difference between defensive formations. Janelle asked if all billionaires were good in bed or if that was just in movies, and Simone wanted to die. But Harrison handled it all with grace. Answered honestly. Laughed at her father's terrible jokes. Complimented her mother's mac and cheese until she blushed. Played with Janelle's son until the toddler fell asleep on his lap. And when dinner ended and they stood on the porch saying goodbye, her mother hugged him. "You hurt her, I'll destroy you," she said sweetly. "I know people." "Yes, ma'am." Harrison looked appropriately terrified. But her mother softened. "You make her happy. I see it. So you're welcome here any time." In the car, Simone said, "That went well." "Your mother's terrifying." "I know. Isn't it great?" He laughed. Took her hand. "Your family's wonderful. Real. He stopped. "I haven't had that in a long time." "You have it now," she said quietly. "If you want it." He looked at her, eyes bright. "I want it. I want." He stopped. "I want everything. With you." It was too soon to say forever. Too soon to make promises they didn't know if they could keep. But sitting in his car outside her parents' house, hands intertwined, Simone let herself believe in possibilities. Let herself believe she deserved this. Let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, the girl who was too plain for prom had become the woman who was exactly enough. 6 months later, Simone stood in her classroom on the last day of school, watching her students clean out their desks. Marcus found a fossilized sandwich. Destiny discovered 7 missing library books. They were loud and chaotic and perfect. "Ms. Johnson." Destiny appeared at her elbow. "You gonna teach 3rd grade again next year?" "That's the plan." "Good. My cousin's gonna be in 3rd grade. I told her you're the best." Simone's throat tightened. "Thank you, sweetie." When the last student left, Harrison appeared in her doorway. He'd started doing this, showing up on Fridays, helping her pack up, taking her to dinner. "How was the last day?" he asked. "Perfect. Terrible. I cried twice." "Only twice. It's been a good year." He walked into the classroom, looked at the empty desks, the bulletin board she'd need to take down. You really love this. I really do. He turned to her, pulled something from his pocket. Small velvet box. Simone's heart stopped. I'm not asking today, Harrison said quickly. I know it's too soon. I know we're still figuring things out. But, he opened the box. A ring. Simple, beautiful. Exactly what she would have chosen if he'd asked. I'm asking you to think about it, he said. About forever. About building something together. About, his voice caught. About making official what we both already know. Simone looked at the ring. At him. At the classroom where she'd taught for 11 years. At the life she'd built. The life she loved. The life that was already full. And at the man who didn't want to replace any of it. Just add himself to it. Ask me again in 6 months, she said softly. His face fell. Simone. Ask me again in 6 months, she repeated. When we've survived a full year together. When you've met my entire extended family. When we've had our first real fight and figured out how to fix it. She smiled. Ask me when I'm certain. Because when I say yes, and I will say yes, I want to mean it with everything I am. Understanding dawned. Hope transformed his face. 6 months, he agreed. 6 months. He kissed her then in her empty classroom, with the summer sun streaming through windows and everything ahead of them uncertain and beautiful and real. And Simone Johnson, third-grade teacher, advisory board member, woman who was never too plain, kissed him back. Because she'd finally learned the truth. She was always enough. She just needed to believe it. What would you rate this story? Drop 0 to 10 in the comments right now. If this story moved you, hit subscribe for more emotional journeys every week. And if it truly touched your heart, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support helps us create more stories like this. Every contribution, big or small, means the world. Ready for the next story? It's even more dramatic than this one. Click now. Thank you for being part of this journey.